Hello, everyone. um, the energies are quite exciting, and as you can see, look what they did to my hair. But no, I kind of messed it up like that. There, that's more presentable. But what I will say is, the last several nights getting out of my bunk when I need to use the washroom, just lots of sparks because of our energetic fields and much more going on, and everything is amplified. And I know many of you are experiencing it and feeling it. So, and hey, everyone, just coming on. I love you all, of course, and yeah, we it keeps getting better every day. We are indeed in the most amazing times. Just worldwide, globally, whatever you wish to say, with one's awakening and things that affect the awakening on a much broader scale also are aligning up events to, let's say, just awaken and awaken and awaken. So things are happening, and one thing we got to keep our patience with this, but it's getting very exciting, and you know, everything well. So, yeah, many upgrades, the like communities and many channelers and teachers, they're getting all the info out there, many upgrades have been occurring and even heightened experiences. So we all know that, and we know it's very exciting. So you've already read and are up to date on most of that. However, I'm just confirming from here. Yeah, it's been wild and wonky with energy and a lot more things. So great. Um, so, a couple of I speak with many, but lately I have not been in touch with many. As you can see, I'm putting a lot of um, things out on this Facebook timeline here of mine, but also doing creating and writing behind the scenes as well. So, as a result, I am not speaking to many, but I guess you could say daily I interact usually with someone new here in Nova Scotia where I'm at. And as we know, always a transfer of codes and light as well, which does make a difference. And of course, I'm a powerful bearer of light, and I activate many, and that's what I do. And all of my intent is good. However, sometimes with some things I may activate within one, they might think it's bad, but no, it's good. It's something you need to overcome so that you can rise higher. And I can guarantee you, anyone that I activated in the past, once you get your inner work done, you're going to thank I for doing that and others for assisting you. You cannot go higher when you have these things within you. But that's not what this video is about. Uh, I wish to share very quickly with you a great divine masculine and friend of mine, and he lives out in British Columbia, Canada. I was speaking with him the other day, and I just wish to share a little story he passed on to me so that I could pass on to you. And he actually asked for me to share that. Now, if I understand the story correctly, I'll give it to you, and for just to share. So what occurred is that he there's a park he visits near his place, and he takes his dog to walk. So he went down there one day, and there was a crow, and it was laying on the ground, and it looked like it was dead. He felt it, and it was warm. However, there was no movement. Um, so he was instructed by Creator to take it and set it under a tree, I believe, so that no other animals could get it. So he did that, and he left it there. And he come back the next day, and he checked on it, and it was still there, and it was not moved. And at that time, I believe Creator had told him to, he was getting ready to walk away, and then all of a sudden he got the message from Creator, breathe the breath of light into it. So what he did is he turned around and he did do that, and he, breathed into it, following the instructions from Creator. So I wish to ask him again on this. So what he did then, he did that, and he left it lay there, and he left. And the next day he come back, and he didn't tell me that the crow was gone, but what he did tell me is that this crow was just walking around and hopping around right behind him everywhere that he went. So, it was pretty obvious to him that the crow was expressing its gratitude, and that he did bring it back to life, and that's very powerful and very magical. And so that's one story. Now, another very important, divine feminine, which is very powerful, and she just shared with me the other night, and we had actually, she got a hold of me on Messenger. We still broadcasting here? Good, I believe so. Yeah, we still broadcasting, everyone? I see Bahia Askri Nicole joined. Gina, can someone just, I guess, yeah, we're good, we're going. So, getting back to the story, thank you. Getting back to the story, a very powerful divine feminine, and she's very young. She's, I believe, in her or in her 20s, but we're all young, age doesn't matter with what we are at the soul level. However, I wish to stress that, because that also gives you an indication of, the younger generations with their abilities as well, which is so important. So her quick story was, she messaged me on Facebook a few nights ago, and just asked how I was doing, and asked if we could have a chat in the near futures. She wished to speak with me, and we hadn't. She was at a gathering in Victoria we had almost a year ago, I believe, in November or December. And anyhow, I hadn't spoken with her since shortly after that. So, so she sent me the message. She said, Rick, I've been doing my inner work, going into many areas within, and, looking at anything that was holding me back, clearing, negative, lower density thoughts, or any, uh, deep connections to the past where negativity or hurt or lower dimensional energetic thoughts and feelings were attached. So she said she was doing immense work, and that she wished to speak. And so I said, sure, but in her message, what she sent is that she said she was trying her powers just a few days ago. And the impression I got is that she held a fork in her hand, and she was trying her telekinesis, telepathy powers. And she had a fork in her hand, and she did bend it slightly with her mind, is what she said. And now, for any of you that know the power of the mind and the parapsychological gifts, and many of you have these, and different gifts are tuned on. But the importance and the significance is of that again. Two things. She did immense work on herself, and she's a very beautiful soul. However, she empowered herself more, but also because of the energetic times we are in, the current vibration that is sustained upon Gaia because of you, because of all of us, and what we're doing with this ascension makes this magic to become more prominent. You'll begin to see more and more of it, and it is so powerful, and it's so beautiful. And you don't see everyone running around and doing this yet, but we have the abilities to create it further and take it further, and it is fact, and so many individual testimonies that it is true, and we're doing it, and that's what it's about. And having said that, I always suggest for any of you to share your stories publicly like that. Have no reserves. No one is crazy. Um, we've come so far, and we are so powerful, and we're on the verge of awakening such a large portion of the masses. And you need to have your things out there, your stories, your teachings, your information. The internet is a great thing, and it has assisted greatly with this ascension. Get your things out there is what I strongly suggest. Don't hold back, because we're in the magical times. And even ones that may not appear that they were awakened, it's usually possible that they had profound experiences before they were awakened, and your truths give them something to quickly identify with, and to relate to, and it assists them in, propels them very quickly even further. And as they join our ranks, we create more and more magic. So it's I always strongly encourage that, but to each their own. You do what resonates and what you're guided to do. However, we know it is very effective when we do that. So that's great. Yeah, beautiful story. So yeah, the energy's going up, and more are getting their powers. It's very real. It's very true, and just a very good thing. Many pink skies I'm witnessing here. At sunset, even in the mornings. Wow, just beautiful. And um, having said that, see if I get shade up a bit, get some light in here. Yeah, having said that, we haven't seen this sort of, that's too much. We haven't seen this, that's good. We haven't seen this much, before. I know I haven't. So great changes are occurring in the atmosphere and the planet. Um, also telepathy, within the few others I've been in contact with, over the last few weeks, we're seeing instantaneous, in some cases, telepathy occurring, which is uh, also very good. Not all the time, but on the heightened times, when Gaia is heightened to extremes, we're seeing that it's happening very quickly. And this is the Christ collective consciousness that we're all a part of. That, as we keep going higher, you don't need telephones or what have you. You just call someone up in your head and send a message, and what have you. It's very beautiful. It's not science fiction. It's reality. And it's these and so many more things are occurring where we're going, and you're getting the ability for them. And so it's all very real. Yes, it is. So I'm seeing, I'm presently in Nova Scotia. I'm seeing, I left here when I got called by Father when I awakened about 6.5 years ago. So I come back, and, I have family, physical blood family here, and friends. And, you know, my blood family overall, I'm impressed with what I have seen there. They come right along, and that's so great. Um, and I am seeing slight elevation in the rest. So, but just by our interaction, and, your interaction with other ones that are not awakened, it does make a difference, and it is occurring. So you always have an impact when you engage with any of the public, even if it's someone you don't know, beam and shine your light. It does make a difference. So I'm seeing a little bit of change here, but for the most part, what I do, I don't get out much in the public or around many friends or people anymore that are not awake. My focus is on the awakened community and assisting wherever I can, and with our gatherings, assisting ones to become stronger and just to share with them anything I can that will empower them further. So that means usually my contacts are the awakened community, and outside of that, over the course of the last several months, I have not had much interaction with anyone outside of the awakened community. It was very limited. So because of that, it's kind of more difficult for I to get a gauge on it. And that's where we all, come into, we contribute the information. For example, a lady commented on a post today I had put out, and I believe she is in Georgia, and she's seeing what she would call a lower consciousness there, but also I believe she said, the flickers of light, where you do see in some of these areas ones that are awakening. And likewise, a lady from PEI, she mentioned she's seeing a little bit of it occurring as well. But now, one thing to keep in mind, where we are raising the planetary vibration, so rapidly, and it's being very amplified and highly polarized. What's occurring is if someone awakes today, they don't have to go through that lengthy process. They can more quickly go through it because you have all the information out there to make it the most efficient and to expedite the process once they listen. So it's not like it was before, as you know, and they can go through it pretty rapidly. Let me say that. Um, and again, having said that, that's why, the masses can awaken. They only need to awaken to such a level, and then you have the way showers like most of you that you're able to go a little bit further forward and set the higher reality stage for them that assists them so much greater. One of the biggest things with this overall ascension and with humanity is that because of the human imprint and conditioning, usually to believe something, they need to see it or experience it. But what occurs during this awakening is that, let's say someone just awakens, but where the way showers have the stage all set, highly energized, where magic is occurring, then one of these just awakening are more apt to see some of that magic. And what that does is that immediately, once they begin to see that magic, it begins to eradicate the doubt, the uncertainty, which is fear. And that is the key to everyone ascending, letting go of the fear. So when they see something rather than hear it, then they're more apt to trust what they see and believe that and eliminate the doubt. And this expedites the process with that. We still rolling, everyone? I believe so. Time is not constant for me, so sometimes I don't know if we're going or not. Yeah, okay, great. We're still rocking here. Good. So, what else? You got written down here? Couple points. Um, so we're seeing the change globally. Hong Kong for a second. Let's look at that. Some of you may be aware of those protests, and that's over there. It's against government and also the banking as well. One video, I'm not for violence whatsoever, and we don't need to do any violence. However, in one of the Hong Kong YouTubes or videos about the protests I watched the other day was I think it was outside of J.P. Morgan Chase Bank there. What you actually had is one protester, come out of the crowd and began just punching a J.P. Morgan employee that looked like he was just bringing his lunch back. So, what you see is a great rage by the people upon knowing the truth of what the banks did, the governments did, to them. So part of that awakening process is that great rage, in the beginning. And some of these will feel it and they don't know what to do, so they'll tend to lash out with that. However, for us, we know it works differently and we don't do that. However, again, I'd say it's so significant, in indicating that the public does know what went on with the banks and, most of that. And those are the lower echelons of the awakening, just to know that the banks and governments were corrupt, if you will. So masses know it. And also, what I was watching another video just a little bit ago, a short one about the ongoing Hong Kong protests and how the government tried to ban them using masks in the protests. What I saw with that was that, they're ignoring that, and no, they're not doing that. They're continuing to stand. But what I watched was the police, maybe what you would call like a SWAT teams, getting out of vans and start running and attacking the people. One police beaten with that stick on his shield, making noise, intimidating and threatening. And very quickly I went to the thought, that guy, that police, he has much fear and rage within him to do that as well, because he was very afraid of the crowd. But, also these ones that are in police forces and what have you, any with consciousness, will be coming out very quickly. Many have left to various ways globally with this. And having said that, there is a lot more still going on behind the scenes, which will limit the employees from the institutions, from judicial systems, from the governments, because it has to. It no longer contains any merit, the judicial systems, to remain intact as they were. Because of compromise of the judicial systems and the overall intent, by empowering the corporations and letting the people suffer, it has reached, the point that it invalidated and uncredited the whole entire judicial systems, not only, around the world, as we knew, what we call third world countries, but I mean this whole Western society and globally, it's all corrupt and unjust, and it's coming down very rapidly. The people are standing up. So on a global, at a global look, it is happening, and it can't be ignored. Two. So I wrote down the Fed is in the U.S. pumping a lot of money into, keeping the banks afloat with liquidity. I tend to look at this as a transitory measure and a temporary measure at providing some liquidity for RV bondholders and this sort of thing. So I'm not entirely sure that's what's occurring, but to see the magnitude of the money being pumped in to the banks, in the last few weeks, it's setting the stage for that. And one reason, I say that because again, we've reached the levels that the ridiculous debt and the quantitative easing, it doesn't make logical sense anymore. And we know that the economic systems are tearing down. And for the one thing that makes sense is temporarily, the money needs to be put back into the system, accessible to those redeeming, the undervalued currencies. They're worth a lot of money, and that money, if it doesn't fully come from a quantum financial system that is fully liquidated, then it has to come from somewheres. And the banks are going to be intermediates, middleman in this. But let me say this, the Fed has no power anymore, and all of the banks have to comply with, let's say, universal law, not any man-made law. So there's a lot that is going on, and everything will be accommodated in whatever ways it needs to be. I'm told the RV is now, it's ongoing. I've also been told that back in February, that was the first time when I was doing an interview with Linda Summers, was to say that it's imminent, that RV timeline. And, lately we know it's happening. It is. And having said that, the Zimbabwe, we're getting all the concrete signs that fully support it. So when it occurs, I hope it happens Monday, but no one that I know of is given exact dates. And with it, however, we're very close and it's imminent and it has to occur. And another reason why it has to occur, as you know, that the galactics are here, as well as much higher forces than any of the cabal or the dark or what have you. We overpower them, and this whole ascension is ascertained, and we overpower them to the degree that we don't directly confront them. We don't need to. We just take other measures from another angle, and things do get done. And it's a divine plan with this. Father told me it's a transitional process, and there are strategies with it. And haven't speaking about strategies with Trump and these sealed indictments, they got to start being unsealed here at any time, and hopefully Monday we'll see that, because again, those are the dominoes to fall that sets off a total global spider web of truth of all the crimes. So it's you could call it the event. I think I'll call it a great event when that happens, because that it may put the whole global scene at standstill. The impact of this as it starts coming out, and the rest of the masses learn more of the truth of what's been going on. But at the same time, they'll be informed of the other measures that were occurring behind the scenes to facilitate this transitional process and to limit any chaos with it to any great degrees. So we may see the martial law that could still be. I'm uncertain. I'm not giving information on that, but hey, it'd be a good thing. And we hear that buzzer go off. We'll say, "Woo, this is it." Anyhow, we'll wait and see what happens. Uh, so with the Vatican, what occurred there the other day, that's actually an inside attempt. It was by the Vatican police themselves to try to document where they seized documents. However, what they were doing was trying to set up a guise to get rid of some valuable documents and try to make them disappear. So what that was, what you read, there's a deep underlying thing with it. However, again, it doesn't matter any attempts by the Vatican, by the monarchs, by the cabal. It doesn't matter what they do. it matters to us in good ways because the more they do, the more blatant they make it to the public. So I should say it's good. I love seeing them, doing things like that. But for it's about over, and it is. Um, so anyhow, I put out a little bit of stuff, 3D, 4D stuff about tax laws, how in the U.S. there's no law, and also in Canada, how the federal government, there is no law. So that's 3D, 4D stuff where no one really has to pay taxes. But one of the reasons I put it out is because it's so important um, in constructing, let's say, um, showing how the judicial systems are void in the government. It's very quickly, you only need to prove fraud. You only need to prove that someone, and that establishes the intent, because you have to look at this. I mean, you have politicians and ones that were enforcing a law that was never there. Like, that's total incompetence. It's non-confidence, and it's also illegal. But, one of the reasons I love bringing this up, if you look at both countries, Canada and the US, from their old legal systems, um, let's just say if they collected tax from you all of your life, but there was no law to do it, I think a lot of you should be compensated. Everyone should have all your taxes that you ever paid given back to you very quickly. But, you know, there's a lot more to that, because when you have the evidence to prove that there was no law um, to make you pay tax, and if a court ignores that, what they do is they very quickly violate themselves, and then they enact the natural law by which then the public can begin placing liens against any of these systems. And to my knowledge, liens have already been placed by some bigger groups. The public did not hear of it yet, but one way is to file and register liens within their system, if you wish, but also on the outside. But when you register liens and requirements to pay, when you register them within their system, and if they don't record it on their books, then again, you have another crime that they tried to conceal a very legitimate and valid claim against them that they didn't pay. So it becomes a huge debt upon them. And if they didn't reveal it to the public, they are breaking more of their own laws. So you can see where I'm going with that. So very quickly, again, they're rendered the way they were. It's the whole system is rendered void. It's just a mess. It can't exist, and because of that, uh, advertently, because they corrupted the system so much, and all of the evidence is there. This is their judicial system, their laws. Let's say, this is international law that governs the whole world. What they have done, they have rendered international law useless because there's no one to enforce international law. That is what they say. However, there is someone, which is the people, to enforce the divine natural law of the people. So what they have done by uh, by voiding their own laws, they have advertently activated the people's natural law, which is, it is the supreme law now. It's a supreme law upon the surface. And upon other ones, if you need to get equipped with your sovereign papers, if you really need that. I don't even think we need that anymore. It's gone so far. But with that, let's look at any police trying to enforce um, any law upon anyone, any judge, any lawyer in these old systems that are trying to do this, they are actually breaking the law if you did not harm another. Now, this is if you did not lay a hand on another, then they are breaking the laws. But there's a different thing that kicks in, but still, where they have voided their self by being illegal and criminal, they cannot pass judgment even on a murderer now. And that is where everything truly is at. And if they're presented with the evidence that shows um, how they have violated their own laws against the people, there is nothing they can do. They are, let's say, beyond de facto. It's imploding and it cannot remain the way it was. So we're in huge transition with that. And having said that, uh, there will most likely be parts of judicial laws that are still there in the force of protecting the public. But let me say, any police officer's role will be to just protect the public. They will not be able to administer fines or any of this. So it's very interesting where we're at. However, we all know you're all protected as um, because of yourself and who you are. This is like for the public during the transition. Um, but this is also where we're at. And I put out maybe a month or so ago, about the ongoing investigation yet into Canada by the RCMP, their self, and CSIS, what we call the Canadian Intelligence Service in Canada, getting all the goods and documentation on what they were actually doing and the crimes they were committing and in supporting the white collar crime and the world corruption. So the tables have fully turned and everything is being exposed. And let me say that it's not being exposed, but let me say it's all there documented and ready to come out. And, with this prior to 2012, the way that governments and uh, agencies, even police forces, when they didn't want something to come out to public, they would kill, the individual to silence them. And but what has occurred because there's been divine intervention since 2012 upon the surface that let's say they cannot go that far now with it. There are a few let's say that were murdered. However, they ascended and they are not dead, but it leaves a very important documented evidence that, let's say, maybe was required to reveal more about the judicial systems and the crimes committed against humanity. Um, so, very interesting. So, with the UN, United Nations, again, they cannot enforce anything. So if you, let's say, are uh, unjustly uh, fined for not paying taxes, when there is no tax law in Canada, you cannot go to the UN. You can go, to try to get justice, but the thing is, the UN, which is like the top level of justice, they have no one to enforce it. And what the UN will tell you is that they don't interfere in these sort of things. But the UN is all part of the criminal structure, what they have. And it's one of the reasons because you have the UN that is encompassing the planet, but because it was part of the corrupt system, that is also why the Galactics had to assist with this at this time to break down that system so we can establish at least a law that is not against people and abusing you and so much more. I'm kind of get carried off away on that. We're in very good times, but I'm just letting you know more of the reasons why everything has to collapse very soon, that we are in these times. And again, as more and more people are awakened to this fact, um, the consent is withdrawn from the governments and the way it was. And when consent is withdrawn, then it implodes very quickly. So we're well within, this ascension process. And this is why I say, overnight, you could very quickly just wake up to a brand new world. So we're that close. What else you got? Yeah, yeah, the RV is imminent. Really, there's no other choice for the world, so it has to come whenever it gets there, and I believe it's there now. um, so again, the Danish citizens, which are suing the government, I just put out on my timeline here a post about that. The So in Denmark, the Danish citizens are suing the government, and I believe they had evidence from over 200 scientists supporting the fact that there's not enough research done on 5G, and but also I believe showing the evidence where it's harmful to humans and even children and can cause death. Now, this is that was a very important post I put out as well. When you look at that, and you could see that governments ignored all of that evidence. It's pretty ridiculous, and the people should not have to take money and sue the government for the government's supposed to be there to protect the people, not kill them and endanger them. I mean, and create this. So with that, again, you can see like this is in Denmark. So here's people awakened there and are standing up as well, and are saying no. Right around the globe, you have so many examples of this. So we are in very great times, and the people right now actually, yeah, run what's occurring on the planet. And again, in the blink of an eye, with world strikes, if they needed to, all commerce can be shut down. But also, having said that, you won't need stock markets and things here very shortly. The whole business world, the way you knew it will become defunct. You will not even need it. How long that takes to get there, very soon, is what I feel, because it could collapse overnight. One thing everyone needs to keep in mind is that, let's just say, if you think you're human, you're not alone here. That there is this other realm up above you in the sky where the galactics are, which, let's just say, if we had some mass landings, everything changes in the blink of an eye. I'm not saying that's going to occur, but if it did, it changes everything here, as you know, very quickly. So whatever we do, we keep going forward. Many of you have ships. I have ships. We know this. We're in touch with them. And if we're divinely allowed, and if that's a part of the divine plan, they will land. And that's all it is to it. And the thing is, this ascension is ascertained. Nothing stops it, especially anything here on the surface does not stop this. The darkness does not stop this. They lost all control. That was, well, actually, it was taken from them in 2012. So, yeah, so the books I put out, that was a Crown prosecutor in that last post. You read a little excerpt where he said, he's enough is enough or whatever, but very sickening. And so there's lots of evidence, lots of testimony by, let's say, some some people that had a consciousness and had a heart that were actual employees of the judicial system that got out of there. And they're beginning, more and more of them are beginning to speak, and there's just so much testimony and documentation uh, to that effect as well. So everything is coming down very quickly, and let's get Trump to get them indictments unsealed, and let's get this RV going fully, and let's get some of the wealth spread around. Let's get uh, our homeless people off of the streets, and get them food, what they need. Let's stop the people from starving, and uh, so let's get, this RV going, and this whole transitional process going, so we can assist everyone in need upon the planet. And let's do that. No one should have to suffer hardships like many of you are. In Canada, there are many senior citizens, their pensions, they don't even get enough to live off of. In some cases, the government was clawing back. No, it's not acceptable, and it's not acceptable for anyone. Senior citizens, whether they be in Canada or the U.S., they all created this world. We all did. Through whatever means, we all contributed to it, and enough is enough with it, and everyone is standing up. So, good. Having said that, I'll see if there's any comments here at the bottom, and soon going to let you go. I've been on here, Gavin, for quite a bit. I see Neil Devaney. They might be having a show soon. I might want to pop in on there as well, and so just looking at the time here, it's 5. Oh, they might already be on. Yeah. Yeah, they are, I believe. So I might pop in over there and see how they're doing. Anyhow, lots going on, and thank you all so much, and I love you, and peace, and kiss, and winks, and yeah, we did it. We did. And much love. So thank you so much, and have a great evening, and perhaps speak soon. Bye now.